Chef Qlik here with a quick prep lesson for my sous chefs out there. As you begin your journey with Qlik MCP and agentic AI, I know you're going to be looking for the right use cases. Might I suggest the one that is nearest and dearest to my heart? That of turning chaos into clarity. Let me show you what I mean. As you Qlikies know, one of the great things about QlikSense is the ability to have a lot of data, lots of disparate data. In this healthcare application, I've got lots of tables about the health system itself, plus I've got these things called social determinants of health tables out there to show us things about the communities in which the patients live in. One of the issues, though, when I've got lots of data like this is how in the world do I track what field is what? Because not everything has a perfect name if I just pull it from their source. And so as I look at this data model here, you'll see as I look at these, there's no information, there's no metadata or descriptions about these fields. So if I were coming in behind the developer, I would be lost, or I would have to go out there and start searching for information. And if I'm coming behind somebody, that's a really hard thing to do. It makes it feel like chaos to me, literally. So the one use case that I really love is the ability to have Qlik MCP look at your application, find all the tables in the fields, and generate comments. I've documented this before in different posts about how I can put metadata into the application. And basically it comes down to I want to comment a field or comment a table with some description. Well, guess what? I can have Claude do that for me. And so if I come back to that application, you'll see what I've done is in a different version, this is on a different tenant than this was. You'll see the different tenants here. In this tenant, I've had it generate the comments. Comment the table accounts, the hospital account financials, including charges, yada, 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 yada. And it went through and generated it for every field for every table in the system. Well, what good does that do you? Well, now when you're out here looking at this and I see this social vulnerability table, it lets me know this is CDC social vulnerability index data, and it goes on to describe all of it. It explains these different rankings, the E's and the M's and everything. So if I'm looking at this table here and I see these fields, E tote pop, M tote pop, what's the difference between an E and an M? I can easily now, as a designer or developer coming behind, see what these fields mean. Now that's the estimated total housing units of both occupied and vacant. That explains a lot more to me. Oh, this is the margin of error for that estimate that was used. Well, the great thing about that is now I've got that all available if I start designing screens. But wait, there's more. Why stop there with the comments when I could also add master dimensions? Now, you're going to see here that what I'm doing is short, easy steps. I'm saying, hey, just show me what you would create for these, because I've got a lot of fields in my system here that have NBR, DT, CNT, QTY as prefixes or postfixes on fields. And I would like to know what Claude would do with that if I were to have it create master dimensions. And so I told it, hey, leave IDs alone. But sure enough, here's a field blood pressure diastolic NBR, and it comes back with a very nice English name for that and gives me the description. Well, that was a good start. I liked where it was going, and it even explains, here's what I would do. Hey, that's fantastic. However, you know what? I'd like you to give me a little bit more information while you're at it. Could you also give me the proper range values for those things? Well, what it did really surprise me, because it actually comes back through and says, hey, not only am I looking at the fields in your application, I'm seeing the ranges of the values in your application. And here's what the normal adult range is. wait a second, how in the world can it do that? Have I mentioned once or 1,000 times in other videos that large language models have the collective wisdom of the world in them? They have healthcare ontology out there. They know what the CDC is. They know what social determinants of health are. They know what the expected healthcare ranges are. And so they're able to do just that. And so once I'm sure that that is what I want to do, hey man, that's fantastic. Why don't you go ahead and go put those in my application for me? And it goes and walks through table by table and puts those in my application for me. So let me come back to there. And you'll see, sure enough, I've got all my master dimensions out here. And if I look at any of these, you'll see that I get this information now available to me as a screen designer or as an end user when I hover over to show details. Well, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a fantastic use case going from chaos to clarity, but I wonder how much that cost. Well, you know what? I wondered how much that cost as well, so I literally asked it to figure that out for me. Hey, what did this cost? How many credits did I burn? Well, you started with here, you used this many, you got that many remaining, therefore you must have burned this many tokens. It tells me what the pricing is and actually calculated the cost to me. $1.86, roughly a 1.6 pennies per dimension, which is not too bad, but it ends up telling you, hey, by the way, that would save about 9.5 hours of work. Well, what would that 9.5 hours of work be? Because it's saying that's 5 minutes per dimension. That 5 minutes is literally the typing time. If I had in that my mind everything that I would have typed, and I had already done the research to figure out what the range values are, and I looked at the metadata dictionaries for all of these various sources that I pulled in, and it was all in my head as the collective wisdom of the world in my head, and I typed, it'd be about 9.5 hours of work. Can you imagine the amount of time it would actually take to just learn what all of these different values were? What things would be there that you would need to type, let alone just do the typing? You take a guess and you figure out why I believe that going from chaos to clarity and adding comments and adding master dimensions and master measures is a super cost-effective way to use Qlik MCP. As always, sous chefs, I sure hope that you continue to cook your recipes with love.